everyone. Welcome to the OnlyGod Podcast. We have here Jake.
Hi.
We did have a lot of technical difficulties starting this off. The first time we recorded, there was no audio. Now we've been here for an hour trying to figure this out.
Yup.
And we're getting there. But you know, when you're doing God's work, doesn't it seem like sometimes it's difficult? You know, it teaches you patience.
Yeah. 100%. And really quick, this is just like part of life. I think everything nowadays is so perfect and refined that
AI.
yeah, with AI,
Filters.
but just in general, like everything needs to be perfect. And I think it like puts a lot of pressure on us as human beings because we look at everything going on around us. And then people are like, oh, everything's perfect. But it's not. We're human beings. Things aren't going to be perfect.
I'll be honest, though, that echo I can hear. Did you turn it down over there from the mic?
Yeah, I can go turn it down.
Because I'm still hearing it.
Yeah, here, I'll go turn it down.
Sorry. It's going to, like, did you turn it down? Or did you not?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
But I can.
But that was a really good intro. We're going to keep this in, guys, because that's life. Like he said, that is life. The ups and downs. But the difference with Jesus, y'all, and that's what I found from my old life, is like I'm no longer numbing myself. I'm no longer distracting myself. Like I really rely more on Jesus and not so much on myself. Because when you put all the pressure on yourself, it just makes you angry, upset. But when you're like, you know what, I surrender it to God. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Like you can get in your feminine flow. And that's what I'm doing right now in my life, is getting in my feminine flow, trust in the Lord. Whatever happens, happens. Like as a woman, it's so important to feel safe. And that's why I have Jake here. So Jake's going to tell you guys, he does life coaching.
See?
And the way we met was at church serving. And he reminded me a lot of myself, just very like always smiling, happy. Everyone would run to him like, Jake. And it was funny because I've been serving for like, I think 6 months. And we had always just been like, hey, and had a little talk, but nothing like deep. And then one day I looked at him and I was like, are you good? And he's like, wow, you're the only person that actually saw through the smile and hipster vibes he has.
Well, you asked, like, I know other people would see through it, but then you actually were like, okay, I see it, and then you called it out. So other people can notice it, but not everybody notices it to the degree that they're willing to say something, or
Right.
they have something like confidence within themselves to like actually say something.
Mm-hmm,
And
yeah.
you said something.
And that's why, so this is what I'll set it off is, so he's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I love you. No, just kidding. No, he's like, no, I'm not okay. Like, and then I was like, let's get together. So we exchanged numbers. And then I was going through it at this time on my Christian walk, a year and a half in. And we sat and had coffee. And I was just like, with him, I was so real and raw. I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, here I am. Gave my life to the Lord, got out of OnlyFans. You know, I'm not drugging, drinking. I'm not talking to guys. So, like, but I feel so, like, I felt so miserable at this point. And instead of, like, a lot of Christians who are like, oh, just read this Bible verse. You know, they just want to, like, fix. He was just there listening. And he's like, okay, I have somebody, too, that you can speak to because your stuff is deep. And we're going to get into all that. But this is only the first episode. So we don't know where God's going to lead us today.
Yeah.
But we just going to let it flow.
That's right. You said something earlier I want to like hop back on to, because I actually think with how this whole thing started, like just in this room, today specifically, and the struggle we just went through, you said the feminine energy and the feminine side of things. Me being a homie, a bro, women can be homies. Me being a bro, what would you express that energy like to define that?
Oh, for my reaction compared to a man in that situation?
Not even in comparison, but what would
That's
a feminine energy be? Because I feel like a guy wants to fix it.
yeah, so you got to be more yeah. So like as a female, I feel like we nowadays we put it so much on the women. Women have turned into the boss more,
Mm-hmm.
and to really be in your feminine energy, you can still be a boss. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. I'm all like super hyper independent, which is not a good thing actually. It's not good to be hyper independent, but I feel like just going with the flowing with the punches, you know, and you know that's interesting because as a man, I guess you should too. So I don't
Yeah, well, it's more so. It's more
the
so.
way I said it.
Yes, it was the way you said it. You don't need to. More so.
I guess for me, I was more in my masculine, as in like trying to control things, which is weird because, like you said, like I think that's more of a masculine trait. It's like you're fixing, you're like taking control, and as a like a feminine, you're kind of like, all right, everything's gonna work out. I'm safe. I'm protected, and that's the key to like for me because I was so hurt in life and everything. I had a lot of masculine energy, and I'll still kick somebody's booty. But I'm learning to be in my feminine energy. But you're saying it as an insult that to be a man, you're like I don't know what you're trying
Oh,
to.
no. I was just trying to dig into like what that statement was in
Yeah.
terms, because I feel because things started off rocky today
Yes.
around this, the learning to just like, hey, okay, it's all right. Because
God's in control no matter what. And I even said that the first podcast. Oh my gosh, I look so cute. Like it was, everything was perfect. And then I really had to surrender over and over where I was like, oh my gosh, I realize how much I want things to go a certain way. And if they don't go that way, I right away try to fight things. And it's like, even today, I was like, oh, we have to do like talk about stuff that I've already talked about, traumas I've already talked about. And it's like reliving them. And here we are. But it's like maybe I didn't say what I needed to say the right way compared to now. So I'm like, maybe God didn't want me to say it that way. Maybe it wasn't Satan. Maybe it was God who's like, nope, that wasn't it.
can I say it wasn't not right? Because that's where, like, I think if I were to describe those different energies, like the masculine and the feminine, it almost feels like masculine has to be right. And the feminine's like, it doesn't matter if it's right if I feel safe. And
Ah,
and so it doesn't, when you were explaining last week everything like your life and your story, a little bit of your story and all of that jazz, I would say it just flowed, and repeating it is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just flowing with whatever this conversation has in it,
right.
kind of deal. So,
But I want to talk. Jake is an amazing man, is what I'm saying. So he made me feel very safe, very not judged, and he does life coaching. So if anybody's interested, hit him up. I'll tag him. But yeah, so what? Tell me a little bit like how you got into like you want to help people, obviously. So what happened where you're like I want to help people?
yeah, the helping people came.
Really, obviously.
It actually, I don't want to say it didn't. It did once I changed and transformed. But when I was growing up in high school, I wanted to be a film director.
Oh,
So then I went to school for a little bit for that, and then I moved to LA. And then when I was in LA, I started to volunteer, and and helping out with the parking at the church I was at. And there was one time where um there's a car that turned the corner in a garage, and I did this little hop and directed and just tossed my hands like that, and they chuckled. I was like, yo, dude, they felt good. This feels good to make people feel good. And ever since then, that's like when it really changed. I went from wanting to make movies to wanting to serve people.
Wow.
And then it was in like high schoolers, and I still have such a huge heart for them. And that's like such a big chunk of where I focus my time. But like, there's so many people that are emotionally stunted almost around a high schooler's age,
Yep.
and their maturity level isn't like you physically you can be 45 years old, but then internally, if you've never processed things and you've never walked through your pain and learned to sit in it and share it with other people and learned how to get healing in it, you're still basically living as that young person.
Right. And it's so true. I went to Soho House this weekend, and it was crazy. These grown men that were like trying to talk to me, but like almost like a little kid, like bullying me. And the guy was like, he's actually flirting with you. And I'm like, I know. I know. Like, this is cringe. Like, and he's a successful person. And then another one was like, he talked like a bro. And it was just like so much, like, I could just see like, man, there's not a lot of people that go through and sit with themselves, like you said. And it's taken me, I'm not like Miss Perfect. It's taken me what it's taken, but 35 to really like sit in my pain and really like process and be okay with feeling that. And it does stem from like childhood. So right now I'm seeing a therapist slash life consultant. He uses the Holy Spirit, let me tell you. And that's where this conversation goes with Jake. I was like, Jake, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm like here walking with God, like, but I don't feel his love. I feel like I didn't know what it was. I'm like, I know I'm not going to go back to the dark. I know my life is better, but what is going on? And he goes, that's perfect. That's where you need to be. That's where God wants you to be, is when you're like, I can't do it anymore. And for so much of my childhood, like growing up, everybody has a story. Like, I'm not like, oh, my poor childhood. Like, everybody's got generational curses that need to break. Everybody's got, unless they, grew up in a perfect Christian home, which I don't even think there's that. But, I grew up with a lot of generational curses. And like, even though my family was Catholic and then we were Southern Baptist and then Christian, like none of the spiritual world was spoken about generational curses, demons, like people are so scared of this stuff, even though half the rap songs talk about demons, demon time. And like, this is such a real world. Like this is, if you got good, you have evil, hands down. And I would have these struggles. Like as a child, my dad, he was not emotional. He was a very good provider. He was there, I didn't have to, he would work a lot, but my dad was there. He was going to pay the bills, but emotionally he wasn't somebody that would be like super touchy or like, I felt like I can really put my head on. And like, my mom was an angel. She always, which is kind of my also problem too, is she was the type of person who would stay in a situation, put a smile on her face and pretend that everything was good, even if it wasn't. Like even years later, I'm like, Mom, can you process? Can you be sad? And she's just such a light. And I love that about her. But so I have these two different traits of my family. So growing up, I was always people pleasing. I was daddy's girl. So I was always trying to like, if we were good, then we were God awarded. You know what I mean? So it's very much like this working to feel loved. I had to do something good. And I was raised, getting spanked a lot. And, I go into detail. A lot of this stuff, I had to go all the way back to the womb with my therapist. With like he literally was like, you need to go back to, and it's funny because you're connected as a child, to your mother. So what your mother's feeling or whatever, you're actually going through that spiritually inside. And it was the most crazy thing, y'all. Like I put my hand and I was like my mother, and I felt like my mother.
Wow.
I felt every emotion she had. And I was just like, whoa. And she wasn't getting, the love that, she needed. And I felt that. And so I went back to that, and it was so healing to go back to that place.
Yeah.
And it's also scary to go back to those places because we're used to being in our pain. And like, for me, that's what drove me in life. It's what drove me to be successful, was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it, with so much ego, so much like putting my identity in everything, around me. So I that's why I got this therapist. Was like, I want to be my authentic self.
Come on.
I've been this Alicia Megan, tough girl, military girl, bodybuilder for so many years. And it's like, I'm really this sweet girl. inside. And I told my therapist, I was like, look, I said, I'm like this sweet person, but I'm also like this a-hole. And like this a-hole part of me wasn't really that. It was that I was this hurt little girl.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually an a-hole. I just was in so much pain that it would turn into anger, and yeah, so it's kind of obviously people know most of my story, but that's where I'm at right now on my walk with God, like going through healing. We could talk about the past, obviously, but that's where I am right now. So it'll be interesting for this to see the growth throughout this in real time.
100%. I will say this right now. Like in you explaining that, you seemed even calmer than you have in the last few times that we've recorded. And it doesn't feel like a comfortability in front of cameras. It feels like a comfortability with yourself. Like whatever that womb work was, that hit. Like that hit. The fact that you're recognizing, oh, when I was younger, I was in a lot of pain, and to protect myself, I got big and I got strong. Like literally for you got big and you got strong. You stepped into your masculine and you're like, all right, I'm going to control everything, because you probably felt so out of control that you needed your manner of coping, and everybody has their own manner of coping, became let me get so safe and like when you're strong, your muscles get hard, that like your physical became a manifestation of your emotional heart when you were young. And so that brought up a question that I don't know if you like have explained this in all the other stuff when you've talked about coming out of OnlyFans, but I'd be really intrigued, because like I guarantee there's so many young ladies that can relate if you can explain this. But why did you how do you think all of that young childhood stuff brought you to OnlyFans?
Like I think, like, first off, I think Satan knows our calling and he goes after. I think if like that's why I'm like, what? He knew my calling so much, he came after me hardcore since I was young. And it had everything to do with it. So number one, I had perversion was one of the things in my generational was a generational thing. So like and this is one thing that I want to share with especially young girls. I had a friend come over, we were like 8 or something. It was like, hey, we experimented with our bodies, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden at a young age, I'm addicted, and I felt so much shame to that. And I'm addicted to, can we say that on here?
Yeah, totally. Whatever.
Masturbation, at a young age. And which come to find out, my sister was too. And we were both over here hiding it, like in our room. We had shared an upstairs room, and it's like, we're little kids and we don't know any better. And I have this guilt, I have this weird guilt with it. And I think I talked about this too. I always had visions, which imagination, now I think about it, it's spiritual too. Like my imagination was, I was this beautiful dancer and everyone like worshiped me. You know what I mean? And this is such a weird thing to think about. I didn't have TV growing up. So this is nothing I saw on TV. This is literally like my dream as a little kid. And I felt so pure and innocent, but yet I was doing these things or having these thoughts that were so dark. So I had a lot of shame at a young age. I had a lot of feeling like I which is, I think, something we should talk with our kids about, what they're struggling with, because people think, oh, they're not doing that, or like, and because that generational, curse, that was in my bloodline at a young age. And then, so yeah, that had to do with it. And then I just felt never good enough. Like no matter what I did, I didn't feel good enough. I did bodybuilding shows. I always tried to impress my parents, which my mom always loved me no matter what. But, I felt like, and this is not to bash, like, when you don't have God, when your parents don't have God, like, and I'm talking not religious God, because religion is the worst. But I grew up in a very religious, home, where it's very like, my dad was very controlling. I mean, I wasn't even allowed in ninth grade. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. So like I had to I remember rubbing my eyes till they felt like they were bleeding to get off the black. And he would look in that, do you have eyeliner on? I mean, like
Wow.
it was to an extreme. Like I think about how I was raised, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder I was with the men I was with in my life, because
Yeah.
it was always that never could make them happy. They were always like obviously narcissists, can never make them happy. Everything looks, they use me to look, I know how to work a narcissist. Like, you give me a narcissist, oh, I know how to pet your back, get you all like what you need. Um, and I grew up to be very much a people pleaser in that aspect. And then it rolled it over into work. Like when I was in the military, I was just a workaholic. But I also had addiction in my family. So going back to that is, I was 17. I was going to college. I actually got out, which is weird. I got out of high school at 17. Went to college when I was 17. I had a fake ID. Like, what? I had a fake ID in Nebraska. And I was a good girl, like, don't get me wrong. See, I explained this earlier, but I did get raped my senior year of high school. And I took on all the guilt because, like, for me, I was a very proud virgin. Like, I was, like, walked around, like, and that was instilled in me. Like, you keep your virgin. And I was very proud of that, And then my senior year, when I got raped, he was sober. I was drunk. I barely remember it. Like, it was all blur. And the next day I was, like, crying. And he was like, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I felt all the guilt. Instead of, like, talking to my mom about it or somebody, I was like, it was my fault because I was drunk. Of course, I was underage. It was my fault. So that was the first time that really, I think, impacted me a lot, was that I felt like used. I felt like I was not good anymore. I was not worthy anymore because so much was put on like that in my family. And it wasn't until I went to the military and they had a video when you first start the military. They're like, this is consent. This is not consent. And I was like, oh my God, I did not consent. And he was sober. He raped me. And I'm like, damn, like this whole time in my life, I felt this shame and like that it was my fault and I was the bad one. And I never put it on him, which is so crazy that I never put it on him. And, Dan, I get anxiety talking about this stuff. It's weird when you go back. For me, I'm an empath, so I like can go back to how I felt. Literally, like right now, I can just feel that like brokenness,
What are you feeling?
Just like you just feel like I had nobody. And my sister, she's young too. She was a year older than me, and she was like, "Oh, it's your fault. You were drinking." Of course, she's young. She didn't know any better. That's why I say Satan uses people. Also, I was really bullied growing up, which is funny because now they probably see me on social media. They're like, dang, listen, I'm a hairy Portuguese girl. Thank God for laser hair removal, but I had a little stash. And the boys made fun of me, let me tell you. And it's funny because when I would tell my parents, I know we're jumping around here, but when I would tell my parents, my dad, I'd be like, Dad, these boys made fun of me. He'd be like, go tell them that they're just jealous because you have more hair than them. So this is the things I would say. How embarrassing looking back. I'm like, really, Dad? I mean, I remember picking up this boy. Like, my dad was like all for like, if somebody mess with you, fight them. So I picked up this boy by his collar, threw him down. Like, my dad would tell me to go beat up like literally, like, we're talking, I'm like in 4th grade. I'm like fighting guys at that age. And it was so cute too. I would pray for the guardian angels so they'd be nice to me. Like, I was really at a young age very picked on, very felt like the outcast. Now I look at it, I'm like, I'm glad I'm weird. But then when you're a kid, you just feel so, my sister didn't want to hang out with me. She was cool. I was the annoying little sister. So like right away, Satan put like this, like, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. Nobody likes you. I remember MySpace?
Yeah.
She would like put her boyfriend before me and I'd switch it back. I'm like, family first. And like, I was like, I would stay up late at night talking to my parents. Like, they were my friends. I didn't have friends. So like, I would stay up. My sister would like make fun of me. She's like, you're a nerd. Like, and I would sit there and talk, and I would just talk their ears off, in bed. Like, da-da-da-da-da. And I look at it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just a little, like a sweet girl. And then over time, you know, in order to compensate that, you start putting walls around your heart. So I had walls around my heart since, since I was in the womb. And it's crazy because this has been the most beautiful 3 weeks since I've had therapy, because I've actually felt God's love. Just because those walls, they're not completely like down, but I've been able to feel his love and put those walls down. But so anyways, I go into the military and it goes right into working. I was a workaholic. Like, I was the top. I put rank faster than anyone on the base. I'm talking guys, everything. Like, I had to prove myself just like I did with my parents.
Yeah.
I had to be the best of the best. You know, I studied. I remember I had note cards. Like, I wasn't that good at school, but I would study my butt off, you know? I was that type of person. Nobody had more note cards than me. I kept them just to be like, I don't think I have them anymore, but I kept them for the longest just to be like, I did so much work. Like, we do a test, right, in the military. It's like 10 different books. I'm talking thick books. And they have 100 questions in this. You don't know what it's going to be. So you have to pretty much memorize everything. And I got like a 99.8 or something.
Wow.
Like I got a really high score. But right away, my personality was not the military. Like, but I got away with a lot in the aspect that people loved me, you know, and I never had a mean bone in my body. And I was always like but my personality was super like too wild for the military. Like, I just spoke what was on my mind. And yeah, I was a little, in order to hide my pain, we become like you. We're very, you know, we're the people that are always smiling.
Yeah.
I always made people laugh. That was my thing. I was the funny one, the goofy one. I was always trying to take life not serious, but inside I was hurting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Sure. Yeah.
On something that you touched on a couple minutes ago. And like this doesn't have to relate to your story right now. Mm-hmm. This is more just like presently in current day experiences. You mentioned not feeling enough. How do you feel today? Not even like today, but just broadly speaking in general. Are you still like, do you feel like you're enough?
I'm still working through that. Like, when I did the child, like going back to that, a lot of the things that's happened in my life was from not feeling good enough, was feeling shame. Yes, I do. I definitely am. Like, now that I'm learning God's love, I'm learning to love myself. And I definitely feel like I am lovable in these things. I don't know. Damn, I don't know. The numbers on Instagram say I am, though. Oh.
I know, but see that.
But inside, that don't matter. Like, doesn't matter.
I remember this is how I used to describe myself not feeling like I was enough, not knowing that I was feeling like I wasn't enough. Because speaking something that I've wanted to do for so long, I remember there came a moment where I imagined myself giving the most incredible talk that I could ever give. And then it was in front of the whole planet. And all 8 billion people, one by one, would walk up to me and say, that was the best thing I've ever seen. And at one point I realized it meant nothing. It was absolutely nothing, because there was one person that wasn't receiving it, and that was me. So everybody could say, you're phenomenal. But until I actually believed it, lived it out, received it, it meant nothing. So you having millions of followers
means nothing. Yeah.
Until you are in that place where like, I am enough. And and there's so much healing that it requires. Like, that's why guys are really struggling nowadays, because like we don't have any place to get our worth. Any place to get our worth other than
you go shoot guns.
But that's like a fun thing to do. It doesn't give you worth. Yeah. You know?
But what do you mean by that? Like, what do we do as females that we crochet? What? What you gonna do different? I mean, our worth is we can make children. And what do you?
Yeah, worth. Okay.
Yeah, explain.
Yeah, so for a long time, Bro, we said the wrong thing. Back up. No, for a long for a long time.
Speak for yourself, not for other men. For you.
Well, this is like a generational thing. I
Oh,
get
okay.
yeah, like just I should say observational around history
Mhm.
that men used to work and then come home and then be able to provide.
Mhm.
And that's where they got their worth. That's like the only place that they got
Family.
their worth. Yes. Like you actually need me. That gives you worth.
Mhm.
Then women started to be able to like provide for themselves.
Mhm.
And if the only place a man got worth was from other people, like you remove other people needing him, what does a guy have anymore? Like what?
Nothing. You're right. I'm just kidding. I'm still man hating right now.
See, but it's not. That's not to say like that's not to justify guys.
But then if you think about it for women, we are so put in this that we have to be put together, like young, beautiful. Oh, the second you're past 30, you're no good. You've been around. Like, there's something wrong with you. So I think we all have these like expectations of the world. And that's why I like putting my worth in the Lord, because then you're at peace. Like when he's the only person I answer to, it takes time. Because when you've lived, like for me, I lived for the world and social media and this front for so long, it's like, who am I? Like, who am I underneath all that? And I think most people will distract themselves, or they'll get in relationships to distract themselves from actually looking at them. And that's the beautiful thing my therapist said, and the way he said it is probably way better. His name's Blair. We could just call him Blair. People will get to know Blair. I'll just say my therapist, whatever. Anyways, he's gonna be on the show too, and I he was like, some people, especially starting off in their Christian walk, they'll use God as a drug. Like, I kept running to him, running, trying to earn it, and it's like, first off, you don't have to. Yeah, you.
Yeah.
It's like, first off, he explained it like this, like it's a cloud, like of rain, of love. You just have to accept it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so used to working for approval. Like, I have to constantly be like, oh my gosh, he's loving me. I have to literally tell myself that all the time, like, oh my gosh, I'm being loved right now. Because it's switching that mindset to like, oh, I have to do this to be loved. And I did that with God for so long. Even though I gave my life to Christ, I did not know any other relationship in my life that wasn't do good, perform, love the guy. Like I would scratch my ex's back for hours. I was like, nobody's gonna love you more than me. Okay, I was a little crazy. But I was like, ain't no girl gonna, like, when I'm with a guy, I go hard. And even my therapist is like, that's not normal. Like, that's not, that it should be like a healthy relationship. And so my biggest thing that I tell people is build that relationship with God first, because now I'm learning love. Now I'm learning to love myself, to accept love, to know my worth. Like, really, that's why the podcast called Only God, because with him only is where like everything comes together, and he brings people in. Don't get me wrong. Like Jake coming in, like God gives you what you need when you're ready.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about him. Like, literally, if you would have told me this not long ago, I'd been like, what are you talking about? And we've got to unlearn so much old stuff. And I think everyone's like, oh, you're a Christian and just you're happy and like, rainbows and butterflies. Like, no, it is not an easy, it's way easier to numb yourself, to be in a relationship, to like do all these things. And like, I've been single since I got sober in 2022, celibate. Well, a year ago I saw my ex, but sex with your ex don't count. That's what I heard. No, that is not biblical. That is not biblical.
Love that.
But, it was crazy because even when that happened, so this is post my fight out of OnlyFans, I go to Miami and I'm like, there's no way. Like, I'm so happy. I was chained to that guy for 4 years, made my life living hell. No way did I think I would ever go back. But what I realized, just because you push something away or you avoid it doesn't mean you're healed from it. So when that actually happened, was like, dang, I still had so many wounds, because if I truly was healed, I would be like, and like, but instead it was like, oh my gosh, I fell right back into like the butterflies, which butterflies is not a good thing, guys. That means run. Run as fast as you can. Like, I think that's so funny that we do that in this world. Oh, he gives me butterfly. Like, that's such a normal thing. Like, and it's like, okay, you can get that big high, but there's going to be a come down with that. And that's what I'm learning. So what I wanted to tell you is like, there was this guy, I know we're jumping around
I
everywhere.
love it. It's great.
I'm like, this is life, right? So there was this guy and he's so nice. He like opened my door and and the second he looked like he liked me, I was like, father wounds are coming up and I'm healing. So this is, like I said, this is not a podcast of I'm healed. Like we're always going to heal to the end of our days, but this is to discuss things that I think most people are going through on their walk with God. And because I don't know that true love and I'm just now building with God, I was like, it almost pissed me off. Like getting that, like him being so nice, I was like, get away. Like I literally wanted to be like, get away from me. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, I want to get to the point where healthy is good. And that's why I've stayed by myself for so long. But since I had such a big heart and could feel at such a young age, like I had the biggest heart for my family, I always, and because of that, what do people with big hearts do? They do the complete opposite, which is isolate. So I've pretty much isolated y'all my whole, I want to say everybody knew me, but nobody knew me. And that's why I want to do this podcast, because I'm like, people are going to get to know me, the ones that want to, or I want to help people obviously with this as well. But it's like my whole life has just been how I look on the outside or how I can make somebody happy.
Yeah. Well, there's so many people that do that by you saying or allowing yourself to be seen and showing who you are, they'll be like, oh, look, I actually respect her more. Yeah. I see how brave she is for sharing that stuff. Because this is something, and maybe like podcast is actually hard to like actually do this on, but it's easy to share when you're out of something what that experience was like. Mm-hmm. But then the real test of vulnerability is when you're going through it, sharing what it's like. Because then you're actually allowing people to see you. And really
y'all seeing it.
Yeah. Like there's times though when it's like it's so painful and there's so much hurt, and then just like not everybody's safe that you can end up sharing that, because some people will use that you have to like pick and choose. So it is hard.
You have to have discernment who.
Exactly. I used to personally, for me, just be like, everybody know me because I felt so unknown. And then it's like, oh well, if everybody knew me, I wouldn't feel unknown. And that's not even true. Because again, they got to know a good version of me and not the version of me that thinks he's rejectable and unaccepted and unworthy. And then it's like, well, if you got to know that part of me, then you wouldn't want me. So I hid that part.
Yeah, stop it. He's awesome anyways. Even with the bad, we love him. Y'all, hope you love me too, because we got a lot. But, going like, speaking of that though, like you are already like saying that there's bad in you, but there's really like, we're human beings and you're like being so hard on yourself, like if they got to know me, like what? Like, yeah, what you wake up and, we all fall short, right? So it's like, even in that, you're being hard on yourself, and that, what's cool is I grew up very religious, and my friend who I met here, who's helped me, she's basically my best friend and mentor, and God put her in my life. Like, we'll get to her eventually, but she would always be like, like when I went to see my ex, she's like, I'm glad. I called her. I'm like, oh my God, I saw my ex, all this. And she's like, I'm glad. I was like, what? Like, that wasn't like most Christians would be like, go repent, But she's like, just get on a flight and come home. And I'm glad, because it actually broke it. Like, she like later on explained it broke you a more religion. Because for me, I was like, grew up, you have to do this, you have to do that. And like, especially going through AA, it was like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And like, it's beautiful, because now that I'm getting the love piece, which is the whole point of Jesus, was love. And now I'm just now getting it. And now people who have that religious spirit in them, I sense it a mile away. Like, there was somebody recently that was like, so if we work together, it was somebody nobody knows about, but anyways, is a trainer that's like, oh, if we work together, like, I'm a man of God, I have a wife and kids, and like, you gotta be, dressed appropriate. I'm just thinking to myself, like, first off, you're making me feel awkward and uncomfortable, number one. Number two, if you're a good man, none of that should matter. If a girl comes walking by, your wife shouldn't be worried. You shouldn't even be you should see if you truly are, if you truly have the heart and eyes of Jesus, just like he saw the harlot and all these people, he saw their hearts. And I could hear this hard religion, and it just made me like, ugh, like, I don't know if I can work with you, because that's like, first off, a girl's going to wear a sports bra when she's at the gym, maybe. I know I have so much controversy around this. I better not talk about this. It was funny, too, and I did this little video recently, and my friend was like, well, what do you think about modesty? And I'm like, I came from Miami, where it's like, it's such a different culture. Like, you don't even see that and think anything bad because it's hot. Everybody's in their bikinis. Like, it's just a different culture. I come here and look at me, y'all. Okay, I'm getting there.
You're fully clothed.
I'm getting there, but I'm not this person that, like, I don't believe like, I have curves. So even when I wear anything, it's shapely. It looks like I'm trying to, but if a skinny girl wore it, it wouldn't look bad. But because I put a pair of jeans on me, it looks a lot. You know what I mean? You put it on a skinny girl, it doesn't. Oh, you're trying to show yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's this big, like, thing around modesty, which God is, he's definitely worked on me more about it. But this girl was like, I couldn't wear a bikini when she was around people in her family. I'm like, I'm sorry. There's something like, this is a whole controversy. Oh, this is going to be a very the religious people in the comments are going to come for me. But I'm just like, you can't wear a bikini around people in your family? Like, it was the weirdest thing. We had this podcast, and now that I've done so much healing, talking about these things with this person, I felt so different. I just felt like, oh, man.
What did you,
I felt like she doesn't get the love yet. Like, she doesn't get the love yet. Like, there's still so much religion in people, I think, in the Christian faith. You know what I mean? I'm like, we should be talking about the hearts of these girls that are doing this. What are we talking about what we're wearing?
Speaking of the hearts.
I know I'm going off.
No. I love it. No. It's good. It's great. Like, this is just sharing. Yeah. This is just life. If you were to say something to your heart when you were younger and it's starting to harden, what would you say to your heart?
So I did talk to my heart in the therapy session. I know it sounds weird, but it's even biblical. Like, your heart is completely separate. Like, it has a personality, everything. And he was like, so what's your heart saying now? And I was like, it's pissed off and it doesn't want to come out, and like, it's mad at me. And he's like, it has every right to be because you put it through so much.
Yeah.
It's like building trust with your body, with your heart again. And so what I would tell is, like, I feel like my heart is still so shut off in so many areas, but that everything's going to be okay, and that, like, the one true love that never leaves is Jesus. And I wish I mean, it took what it took to get me. That's why I don't regret. I don't regret OnlyFans. I don't regret, like, people, I could easily change my whole thing, never talk about it, and people would be like, oh, yeah, she's just an influencer. Like, but I'm like, no, I want to share this because everything stems from a broken heart. And that's what happened to me. The more my heart got broken, and that's why it's so important, ladies, and save yourself for marriage. Save yourself, because it's like I have a friend who she's with somebody, and I'm like, you're building those trauma bonds. And if it's not that, you don't know if that's the one you're going to be with, you feel this, like, this little tension, like, is it serious? Is this going to last? Am I giving my body to somebody that you know what I mean? So my biggest thing too, you take on their demons. When you have sex, you take on their demons for sure. And, yeah, it's, I mean, I had that spirit of perversion. It was crazy. Like, it would take over my body to where I would know, like, it almost felt like, and this is a good thing in therapy, he told me. He goes, the reason you like that feeling of like that when you're in that mind, like when that spirit takes over, it's like I'm not in control anymore. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's almost like a relief, because now the spirit is over my body and I'm doing something that I don't want to do, but yet that feels like, because I was so controlled too in my life, that like being controlled by somebody, even a spirit. This is crazy. I've never even said it like this, but whoa, that was Holy Spirit. Even being controlled by that spirit felt good. Except for after. Then you feel empty. You know what I mean? And it's been great because I don't have those urges anymore. But if I leave one door open, like if one little text from an ex came through, it's crazy how even something small like that can still bring up things, but there's more healing. You shouldn't have to block. And that's a beautiful thing. I saw him recently and he's like, you shouldn't have to block somebody. You should be one day like, I don't care what that person thinks or says. Like, I don't have to block them. It does say like run from sin, of course, but it's like they're not like coming to sin on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I should be able to receive something and not let that trigger. I mean, that's a goal. I want to be in such a place where my identity is so in Christ and who I am and who God wants me to be, connected with my creator and myself, like you said, to where like nobody can come over here and mess that up. Yeah. And that's where my protector comes. But that's why I isolate, because that's also a bad mechanism. But I've been reaching out to people. I've been like my little niece, I FaceTimed her. We had the best conversation.
Come on.
She brought in her boyfriend. Not her boyfriend, but this guy she likes. And it was so pure and innocent and fun. Like, she's about to be a freshman, and talking to him. And of course I'm picking on him. I'm the aunt who's going to beat him up. And like, and it was just like, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I never do that. Like, I'm so scared to get hurt by even my niece or like anybody, that I kept myself so safe away from everybody. Like, nobody could touch me. Only I touch the door handles. Nobody touches me. That didn't make sense. I was trying to make a joke, guys.
I know. I could tell.
I was like, where's she going with this one?
No. I knew you were trying to joke, and I'm like, no, you can keep it serious.
I know, that's what I like to do when serious stuff comes up. I deflect. I'm doing better than last time. Yeah. Last time I had a joke every 5 seconds.
You did.
And I joke about my pain a lot, and that's an unhealthy thing.
There's joking about it when you're going through it. That's like coping, and then there's, you can joke about it having gone through it, and also be like, oh yeah, that was tough. Yeah. That was really challenging, and you're still going through it. Not like going through it. I mean, yes, in a sense that you're still like feeling the repercussions of the pain that you felt all those years ago, and then you're just like allowing that to come to the surface.
This is week 2 I've been on. And I told him this. I'm like, I'm just feeling God's love. And it's so funny. I went through therapy, and I was like, well, I said, the little girl, he's like, you need to let your little girl come out, like that she's safe now, you know? And I was in the therapy session. I'm like, she needs to grow up. I'm like, okay, I can't just be in this la la love land. Like, and he's like, why not? And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I that programmed to work? Am I that programmed to do everything that I can't even like enjoy life? That's why I'm doing everything like day by day, like one day at a time, because I'm just trying to be like, okay, what does Alicia want to do today? Like, do I need to go live right now? Do I have to? I have to do. I've lived my whole life. I have to do this. I have to do this. Yeah.
I have a question. Not a question. Something to highlight. I would even say that this, how it started, was an opportunity to just be like, hey, this is just how life goes. When you're a little kid and you go to like basically anywhere and you don't want to go, you can find something to do and enjoy while you're there. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. And then we get to be an adult, and we have to like, everything has to be orderly, perfect. Can't make any mistakes. And then this,
or if it's not your way, it's not good. It's instead of like a kid, you had to do it, but then you had,
Yeah. So
make the best of it.
like this is just
Childlike
messy. Yeah. Like childlike perspective.
is the best.
It is, because then you're just like, oh, cool. This is just how it's going right now. I have, like, I would say that's like a gift that I have as a human being, is to just be like a child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
And it irritates people's souls, doesn't it? You have some people that just hate you for no reason, right?
no, I don't let them hate me. Okay.
Really? I feel like some people who are just they see that joy in you, and it upsets their spirit because you have a freedom that a lot of people don't have in Jesus. I feel like more so now that I found Jesus. I don't know if you have that same.
So what I had a friend tell me the other day, one of the guys I work out with, that he said, you're the best person I've seen meet people where they're at. And so the joy that I have, it will manifest itself in different ways. It's where sometimes someone's hurting, and it's like they just need someone to be with them, and so that's how it will show up. Because I did go through a period.
And that's like Jesus, because that's how he came. He met us where we're at. Instead of like religion, I want you to do this, this, and this, and get where I am. And now that I'm finding God's love, I'm like, wow, I'm realizing how many Christians live their whole life like that.
Yeah. And it's because I shouldn't say this is the only reason. I would suspect it's a big portion of people don't know how to sit in their pain. And because when you sit and you get still and you've never processed your pain and sorted through that, it will come to the surface. So they're like, oh, well, we can't be honest. We can't sit in pain because all of my pain is going to come up. And then it's going to overwhelm me. And I remember when I started to dig into my pain, I thought, am I going to be in this forever? And I think I remember you also saying something along those lines, that thought, where whenever you do allow yourself to feel all of the feelings you've had in your life, you're like, am I going to be here forever? Because it's so much and it's so intense and you don't know how to process it, and you haven't had people sit with you in your pain. So you feel alone in it. And it's so overwhelming. And then you slowly, like for me, I knew God was there and I knew God loved me. I needed to learn to sit with me and allow me to love me, because I wasn't doing that portion. And then now I feel like what I'm slowly starting to do is in the same, like, this is my perspective, in the same way that there's like 3 parts of God, there's 3 parts of the fullness of his love, and that's him, other people, and yourself, and love from all of those. And I was good at him, getting real love from him, and then working to get love from other people, and then nothing from myself. And I feel like now what I'm doing is like really seeing a deeper love from him, learning to love myself, and then learning how to truly get love in a way that satisfies my heart from other people.
That's what he said too, is like your brain, you know why your brain, because I'm like, my brain's always overworking. He's like, your brain is trying to do what your brain cannot feel. So since you've closed off your heart, your brain tries to rationalize and do all these things for your heart to push things or whatever the case is. So I'm still in that point, and I even said this, and I'm like, he's like, some people will like cry after therapy for like 2 days, and we gotta be like, okay, we gotta pull it together. He's like, but I told him, I said, I haven't hit that point yet, and I'm scared as hell because I think it's coming up, because the past 2 days have been like a little rough for me. But I've been on this cloud 9 of his love, and I'm like, yay. So right after therapy, and I thought about it, I'm like, girl, you crazy. Right after therapy, I went to the gym, literally after doing womb healing, went to the gym. Then I went rollerblading for 3 hours. But I do love, for me, that's not, to me, that's being in God's love. But I was like so happy, like just in awe. But I'm just like, girl, you're still like, you're not, you know what I mean? It's still very hard for me to like sit still and feel, you know?
So if you were to...
I'm a brick house. The Great Wall of China.
The Great Wall of Alicia. Yeah, no, sitting in it's tough. And that's what you're learning is how to sit in it. And it's a process when you don't for so long.
Yeah, yesterday was kind of like a gloomy day. Well, it's been gloomy forever weather-wise, but I had talked about I'd gone live, talked about my ex, things that happened during domestic violence, and the whole day was kind of gloomy, but I was like, you know what? It's okay. I can't be on cloud 9 every day, but I kind of want to. I'm like,
Well, see, this is something I've been learning recently when it comes to being on cloud 9 and
God's love,
and
cloud 9.
and not being on cloud 9. Actual, real, true, unconditional love is present on
Yeah.
cloud 9 and when you're in the shadow of the valley of death.
Right.
It's there. It's the learning how to sit in the valley and still experience his love.
Right. And
That-
that's I think something I'm still, but I was cool with it. I was like, all right, God, that's one thing I've really done. I'm like, okay, I know I'm not feeling the best, but I know that you love me. And like, so it's just like, I feel like a lot of talking to myself. It's funny how we can talk to others so much, but talking to ourselves is like weird. But now I've been doing it to where I'm like, okay, Alicia, like what's going on right now? And like, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go to the gym and work it out. I'm just going to run 20 miles.
literally run from what is going on inside.
I'm getting better, though.
Yeah,
And that's
no.
why it takes a process. Even he said this. He's like, thank God, like, because I do feel like my future husband is coming. So, but I knew I wasn't ready. I'm like, I don't know what, I still feel like not satisfied, if you could say that. I still didn't feel like like where I am now is like night and day. Like now I feel like, oh my gosh, the puzzles are starting to come together after a year and a half. That's why it's like, be patient. Don't go back to anything that you were before, you know? And some people said that when I went back to Miami, like, you're going to go back to that life. I'm like, once you're in the light, man, it's so hard. Like, even all the girls that and I love them all my OF girls, everything, but everything was so sexualized. Like, everything was about the body and like everything was like, and the energy in Miami is just so sexual. Everyone's looking at you like you're a piece of meat. And I'm like, I feel so separate from this, you know? Like, as before, like, you know, it's just like normal in Miami. You're in a restaurant, you see girls twerking, videotaping, you're like just trying to have dinner. Like, what the heck? What the heliante? What the heli? I don't know if that's a bad word, but I've been saying that a lot lately. It's
Heliante?
What, you see that little thing on TikTok? What the
Uh-huh.
heli?
No.
It's a funny little thing that people are saying, but shouldn't say it maybe.
Say it.
But it's crazy because I know in my heart, I'm like, that's my calling, is to those girls. You know, my calling has always been to the brokenhearted. It's usually what you get attacked by the most. Like, my purity was attacked at a very young age. So that's actually was my, you know, my calling. And that's why I always felt the opposite. I always felt dirty. I always felt, you know, and yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to wrap up the first one, or what do you want to do?
What time is it by chance?
I know, I feel like we've been 12:45.
I feel like I have something I have to do, but I don't have my phone because it died. And so I'm like,
He's in his feminine flow.
yeah.
Whatever happens.
No,
happens.
like I'm like like it just dawned
But
on
that's
me.
okay. You know what? Because I feel like we've said a lot.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
even gotten into, we've done a lot of talking about childhood, how those things affect us as adults, which is great, because I think it all stems to, that's where we're going to go into OnlyFans. We're going to go into all these things that get you to do the things because I think a lot of people wonder, like, you were in the military for 9 years. Like, how did you get, you know, I was like all independent, you know, how did you get from that to like that? So we're definitely going to go. This is the first episode, guys, and we've had a lot of technical difficulties, but we are not giving up.
That's right.
The Lord is our strength, okay? And I'm just really grateful to have a safe place and to feel like I just want to help somebody that feels alone in this, that maybe is going through the motions and hasn't felt that love yet. Like, you'll get there. God's timing is the best timing, and don't give up. Like, don't give up. And he loves you so much. And if it's okay if you have to say it until it's starting to become real, until you start to get it. Everybody's walk is different. And like, he'll bring the people in. He sees how hungry your heart is. And that's where I was. I'm like hungry for God, but here I'm doing everything right, but I'm not feeling it. And it was like something as simple as somebody to tell me, like, it's your perspective. It's like how you've been programmed your whole life.
Yeah.
To view love. And it's such a pure, unconditional love we're not used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it keeps no records of wrong. You don't have to prove yourself. Like, it's such a foreign love. So it's going to take a time, just like anything, to build up a relationship with somebody, to build that relationship with God. It's going to take time, you know? And I kept saying this, like, God, like, what am I missing? And most people say, why God gives you everything. You can't say that. Like, it's okay to talk to God like that, because we're just on this journey, and he's going to give you the answers, you know, and he will. And it's okay to talk to him like a friend, you know? That's what I do all the time. I'm like rollerblading. Like, I'm like a little hipster out there rollerblading. I'm like, just, God, you're so cool. Like, I'm looking at life, and I'm like, life is so beautiful. And when I was in addiction, it's like all you can see is yourself and your pain and your, you know what I mean? When you live for yourself, it's so empty. Like, even though every day I was like, we'd wake up, what do you want to do? Go swim with shark? Sure. What do you want to do? Like, every day was just whatever we wanted to do, but it was because I think at the core of every human being, we want to love and we want to help people, you know? Like, I get surprised when people are just like, I just want to make money. And I'm like, really? Does that really make you happy though? But there are people that will sit up there and be like, you know, that's the ego, the prestige, all that stuff. And I'm just like, maybe God wired me different, because I've always felt like none of that could fulfill me. And I think to the core of a person, it doesn't, because look at the people who are all in addiction. Most OnlyFans girls, most who make money, are numbing themselves. Most celebrities, you know what I mean? So there's most rappers or singer, most people have an addiction because they're trying to escape even the reality. And when you have God and you see how beautiful the world is, you don't need to escape. You can be in the present. And that's what I'm learning right now, is being in the present.
Come on.
It's
so
cool.
good. That's so good. It's a great place to end, because I think that is
The key.
Yeah.
God and being present. That's all we have is now. We don't have tomorrow. We don't have yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And either for me, I was always 20 steps ahead, like, you know, and that's how I got success. I was like hustling. Or I was in the pain in the past, numbing myself, or just being stuck. So being in the present is like the key. But you got to heal from a lot of stuff from the past. You can't just be like, I'm going to be in the present.
Yeah,
It don't work like that.
If you just try to live in the present without handling the past, there's always going to be fish hooks inside you that are going to draw you back, because they're your protective mechanisms. And while you're trying to be present, there will be things that are happening that will remind you of the hurt and the rejection and the pain of your past, and it'll just yank you into it, and you'll be and then you're playing the game of uphill running towards the present always, while being pulled back by your past. And that combination, like, I tried that for years, and that combination right there, exhausting. God, is that exhausting. So I love that.
That's what I'm saying. He's a really amazing life coach, guys. Hit him up, because there's not a lot of people that you can feel safe and speak to about things, and the way he sees things and what he's been through to get where he's at. He's done a lot of work, and I'm just so grateful that God put him in my life. And I'm telling you, sometimes it just takes that one person that you feel safe around to open up to, you know, be your authentic self. But so I highly recommend hitting him up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
God put it. It's funny, at the perfect time. I've been serving with you forever and never.
I know.
We never hung out.
I know.
And I'm like, boom, here we are doing a podcast.
Look at that.
This is our third one. This is God willing. Y'all, the audio, it works. God willing.
I could see the audio levels, so that's good.
Okay.
They're going. So now we'll see if we'll see.
But you know what? It's been a beautiful, messy thing. And like I said, we could have let this be like, screw this. This isn't from God. It didn't work, blah, blah, blah. And be all moody about it. Like, I was a little grumpy this morning, but then it's like you surrender it and God takes over. And that's the piece of life, surrender.
Bet.
So I love you guys. If you want to get merch, theonlygodapparel.com, use my code Alicia and you can get a discount. And yeah, I love you guys. We're going to be doing this once a week and just unpacking life and the struggles and God is good.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. Till next time.
Till next time. Did it get me in the nope.
I know. I was hoping it was going to change over to you. So I'll say it again. Till next time.
Till next time. Did it work?
Now try.
Till next time.
No.
Just don't talk. Let me talk. Okay, you're not talking? Okay, the camera's on me. Till next time. Love you all. God bless. And God's got you and you're not alone and you are loved. And never forget that. Mwah.
Let's go.